It seems like it's been forever since Starfield was announced. We've been talking about it, arguing about it, and analyzing every little detail, and I've also had my concerns about its accessibility out of all this conversation. But Starfield is finally upon us, so were my concerns confirmed? Or can disabled players grav jump into this NASA punk galaxy? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Steve Saylor, I'm blind, and I play video games. To find out how, click here or in the link in the description down below. While you're down there, click the like and subscribe buttons so I can do cool stuff with this channel. Here's the thing. I love space. Give me a game, a book, a TV show, a movie with space in it, I will more than likely love it. Add some NASA-style exploration into it, and you've got me hooked. That was the promise that Starfield is hoping to deliver. This also would be my first Bethesda RPG. I tried to get into Fallout, Skyrim, and even Elder Scrolls before, but could never really get fully immersed into what folks have been enjoying from Bethesda for decades now. So when you combine space and Bethesda, it seems like it's a perfect match for me. So when I booted up Starfield for the first time, I was ready to live out my astronaut fantasies. Sadly though, if folks were hoping space would be accessible, it is not. I do love this game, however, in spite of its accessibility or lack thereof. From the first moment I put on a spacesuit and built my character and my profession as an explorer, and given my first ship, I loved every second. This game is what folks have been saying about Bethesda for decades. They know how to make good RPGs, and it shows. I finally understand why people love Bethesda games. The number of solar systems and the 1,000 planets to fly to and explore, the ability to even live out some space pirate fantasies or become a space chef or a bounty hunter, an explorer, you name it, you can do it. The story for me is even compelling enough to keep me going, but also this is one of those rare times in an RPG for me when I wanted to go off and do side missions and see what the galaxy had to offer. I remember I spent 2.5 hours of my over 20 hours of playing just doing one side mission. We were helping 4 families who colonized on 4 planets in this one solar system that was being attacked by spacers who wanted their resources. I was doing everything, exploring, dogfighting in space, taking over a space station, negotiating a defense accord with the 4 families who didn't always get along. I was doing it all and I loved it. It was also challenging too. You try taking on 5 ships at once that are 4 levels above you and see how well you come out of it. This is all in the name of exploration, and it hits exactly what I wanted in a space RPG. The companions you come across that can be added to your party are intriguing, with their backstories that make me care about each one of them. The soundtrack is gorgeous. Even while I was writing this review, I listened to it repeatedly. This game has it all that only Bethesda can. And yet the feeling I always had while playing this was, again, I was enjoying the game despite its lack of accessibility. Folks, I wish I could say that this was going to be the first accessible hit from Bethesda. It is not. Sadly, not even close. When Todd Howard announced on Kinda Funny, when asked about accessibility, they would have big font mode, I didn't realize at the time that was basically all they would have. There are some things that are built into the design that would help disabled players, but there is very little in terms of customizing your experience to fit a disabled player's needs. Let's first talk about that big font mode. I can say that yes, it is a significant improvement over the original default text size. I mean, basically anything's an improvement over that default text. The majority of the text in the whole game is resized to that big font mode. There are still smaller blocks of text that are hard to read, but for the majority of the in-game menus, and there is a lot, the text is not perfect, but manageable. But sadly, you can't customize it, you can't resize it, you can't do anything other than just enable it or disable it. There are other small things that the game does do well, like being able to remap controls in both the controller and mouse and keyboard on PC. All of my playtime was on the Xbox Series X, so I can't speak to how well the remapping is for motor disabilities on PC, but for console, there are some remapping help there. Speaking of motor disabilities, some of the menus use cursor-based navigation, especially the star map, but some of those menus allow you to navigate via the D-pad. The only menu I've seen where it is only navigatable by cursor is the skills menus. Now we're starting to getting into the category of accessibility that is just really okay, but needs improvement. Let's talk about subtitles first. Yes, there are subtitles, and most of the in-game NPC dialogue is subtitled. However, you cannot customize that experience. The default does give you speaker tags and a semi-opaque background, but that's all they give you. There is no ability to change the size, background opacity, or font type, and they use their computerized font for the subtitles, so this could be difficult for dyslexic folks too. Even the dialogue choices you can make when talking to characters, there is no customization for the background opacity, font type, or highlight color. If you're not happy with the default, you're out of luck. But a majority of the issue with the legibility with the text is honestly the contrast. There is very little contrast throughout not only the menus, but in the HUD as well. Because the majority of all the text is white, and there's a lot of environments that have a white background, even in space, the text in the HUD is actually blue, which doesn't really work because some of the space environments is also blue, so it also makes it harder to see as well. There is a little bit of a drop shadow in some of the text, but it doesn't do nearly enough to be able to help make it legible or readable for many players. The font is honestly too thin, and there is no background for much of the text. Even in some of the menus, the contrast is honestly terrible. To show you what I mean, part of the game allows you to go to specific workstations to upgrade your weapons and gear. Those menus both have either a yellow or red color to them, making the thin text extremely hard to see, even with big font mode enabled. Other areas where there is okay accessibility with no customization, there is a center dot to help with motion sickness. But again, the contrast is very hard to see and it is small, so you can't really change the look or color to fit your needs. When using your scanner, there actually is sort of a high contrast mode that highlights objects on planets, such as materials, resources, flora or fauna, but it can also highlight NPCs and also the different wildlife that you come across when exploring different planets. The problem is that there is no customization of that highlight thickness or color. Also can't separate that option to be able to make it high contrast for everything. It only works when you're just using the scanner. But that highlight is only used by two colors, blue and green. If you use your scanner on a blue highlighted object and then scan it, that object will change to green. So if you are colorblind and have issues with differentiating between green and blue, that may be an issue to know what you scanned or what you haven't. Also, while using the scanner, if you have a waypoint to get to a selected mission or just a point of interest, there is a highlighted path on the ground that directs you where to go while the scanner is up. But often that path disappears and will sometimes say no direct path found. So it is very difficult sometimes to be able to know exactly where you're going. More on that actually in a minute. Now, what the game doesn't have or needs improvement on for accessibility, there is no screen reader. Other than the oftentimes disappearing navigation path to the waypoint, it can't really be described as having proper navigational assistance. There are no full captions and no visualization for any sound that's happening off camera. There are moments when I was attacked from behind and the only way I knew it was happening was because I could hear the enemy hitting me. For cognitive players, this game will be a nightmare, especially when it comes to the star map, which is honestly my actual biggest gripe with the game. When I described back in my Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom review, that game makes you feel finger dumb. Basically, you're constantly hitting the wrong button all the time. In Starfield, in any of the maps, it happened to me too many times. I still haven't gotten it right, and that's after over 20 hours of gameplay. I constantly hit A when I'm supposed to hit X, or tap B when I should be holding it, or hitting the menus button for the missions, or just getting out of into the options menu. I have to hit the menu button twice. Sure, I get you want to encourage exploration, but when you get to a dotted line topographical blue map with just waypoints on it for the surface map, you have no idea how to get to specific waypoints when you're on a planet. This happened especially in the city locations like New Atlantis. Even after exploring the area of the section of town that you're in, there is no help in figuring out how to get to a waypoint that's either above you, below you, or how to get around winding through the corridors and streets. Just a dot on the horizon that that you're supposed to figure out how to get to, and the map does nothing to help you out at all. There is no mini map to speak of, and the compass that you have that's supposed to emulate what you see in your constellation watch doesn't even really help either. It just points you in the direction of where you're supposed to go, but nothing else. Another frustrating function of the game is weapon switching. Now, I know that Bethesda games combat doesn't exactly do super well. It's not really the most intuitive in a lot of Bethesda games, and I could definitely see why even in this game. It does have a first-person shooter-like gameplay, but honestly, the weapon switching is probably the one that I thought, maybe this should have gotten a little bit more love and care. Ammo is scarce, or at least it was for me when the weapons I had. So if you run out of ammo, you cannot auto switch to another weapon that's in your arsenal. You have to go into the main in-game menu, enter your inventory, find the weapons category, select the weapon you want, and then continue fighting. Or if you favorite a weapon in your inventory, you can skip doing the menus and hit any button on the D-pad to bring up the favorites menu to select another weapon. But if none have ammo, you must return to the inventory menu to find that one that does. This is even more frustrating when you're in a gunfight with pirates and you run out of ammo for everything and you have to try to loot bodies to find some sort of ammo. It would have been great if there was an option to auto switch to the most powerful weapon in your arsenal or just any weapon that had ammo, because it was constantly happening to me all the time. You do get melee weapons, so you're not completely defenseless, but you still have to get close to your enemies. That can be a challenge, especially if they have a powerful weapon or just powerful enough that they're shooting at you or attacking you. You may die before you even get a chance to get one sort of melee swing in. I don't know if other players who have been reviewing the game, if this was an issue for them, but still, it was frustrating for me as I kept finding a ton of ammo wherever I went, but it never seemed to be the right kind of ammo or enough ammo for the weapons that I favored. The whole weapon switching is just a huge mess, and I'm constantly always running out of ammo, and I can't easily switch from one weapon to another. Those are just some of the issues that I had with the game. And it is frustrating to play another huge game in an ever-growing list of huge games that never took accessibility as a priority. I know folks are thinking, how can this happen? It's Xbox. They love accessibility. Bethesda Game Studios, even though it is still part of Xbox, is its own studio. They must decide how much or how little accessibility they want to add to their games. And if there are only one or two accessibility champions in a huge team, those voices will get drowned out, which seems to be the case here. It is still possible that solutions can be added post-launch. Heck, Deathloop, Dead Cells, and even the Outer Worlds did, and it made their games better for disabled players. So there is still hope. But for right now, the rest of the gaming community gets to fly off into spaceships while disabled players are left back on Earth, hoping that one day they'll reach the stars. I give Starfield for accessibility a 2 out of 5. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about Starfield that I didn't cover in this, as this is a huge game, so I couldn't cover everything, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you can give this video a like and then subscribe to this channel so I can do more cool stuff, that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks again, and as always, I remain obediently yours. Bye-bye.